Welcome back, everyone. So today we're going to take a look at these Wikelo Ship listings. Now, I don't own this content. This is owned by a person named Chris, GBG. So I appreciate him for putting this together. I will also put a link into the chat or not the chat, but in the description for this spreadsheet if you'd like to take a look at it. He also has other spreadsheets as well. So it does come from Reddit. And again, as I mentioned before, he has an index here, and there's all kinds of content about Wikelo, as well as other guides and things that he puts together. And he has a link up here for Buy Me a Coffee. I personally use that in order to share. I mean, this is great content, so I can always appreciate putting together all this data, the data mining that went into this, things of that nature. I don't really use Ko-fi, Ko-fi me, but I did use a Buy Me a Coffee link, and it is available here as well as a referral link if you're interested in that as well. If you like to show some love to Chris for everything he's put together here. So as we get into this, there's a number of, first we're going to look into 4.11. So 4.11 is currently still live, so be mindful of that. So if you turn in now, you can go ahead and get these particular ships. However, if you want to wait, you could wait till 4.2. Early on in the patch, they didn't allow us to turn in scripts for favors, but they did bring that back. So now if you want to keep getting scripts and turn them in for favors, you need 50 scripts per turn in. That does still exist in 4.2. They haven't changed that ratio. I mean, I can see CIG wanting to maybe make it 100 or 150 scripts instead. That way it forces people to maybe do other things besides the scripts. But they have chosen to keep the 50 scripts as well. So that's good. You can do that for both the council scripts as well as the MG scripts you get from doing Foxwell missions. Somebody had asked me before how you get those scripts. So you're going to get that through either, if you want to do council scripts, you'll split the slider to unconfirmed, and from there you can then do the ambushes and the patrol missions for the council folks, or you can keep it on the regular under mercenaries, or you can keep it under the regular non-slider, the unconfirmed or I forgot what the terminology is, but the regular general missions under mercenary, you can do the ambushing or the patrol missions for Foxwell. Additionally, you can also do the ghillie missions, which is another option to get scripts. Those will all give you the MG scripts. All right, so let's get into this. So we have a number of ships here that are currently available. You'll also notice he does list the 4.2 versus the 4.11 costs. And so the cost just straight up gets cut in half for 4.2. So that's a really nice change. Additionally, these ships will change a bit as well. But if you want to get these ships, you want to take a look at, luckily, all three of these change. The only one that stays in this category is the Intrepid, so we'll take a look at that. But if you're interested in any of these particular ships, be mindful that this is what they're looking like now. And if you're worried you're going to lose your favors, for me personally, when I was working with the 4.11 builds, I had only gotten one favor, and I do notice in 4.2 I have that favor still in my inventory. So that's a good indicator to me that the favors should transfer over between 4.11 and 4.2. So I'm going to hold on to my favors. But be mindful that obviously that's not a given, and you could lose all your favors. So if you have a bunch of favors now, if you want to spend them, it totally makes sense to me. But for me personally, I still have quite a few favors, and I'm going to hold on to them until 4.2. Largely because of stuff like this, because the cost cutting in favors is cut in half in most of these categories, which I've mentioned before in a previous video. So here we are. You do notice this kind of 4, 3, 2, and 1. The ones with the lower numbers are the harder ones to get. He mentions that as well in the kind of description here. We have direct percentages in the data mining in the next spreadsheet, so you don't have to really pay too much attention to that. It's just if you're interested in these ships in this first spreadsheet for 4.11. So great ships here, minus I would be mad with the Peregrine if I got like 2 of these or something. I'd only want 1 of these on my account. I really would appreciate if CIG, even if you could just like give it back from your account without getting any money for it. Obviously, I'd like to get some sort of money for my time, having farmed up those favors. So I'd like to be able to sell it to something or, something of that nature. But just getting it off my account, I would even like that over just leaving, 1, 2, 3, 4 Peregrines on my account. I wouldn't mind having one of them, but again, as long as I get 2, 3, and 4, I wouldn't even want them on there anymore. The next setup here, the good pickup here is going to be the Taurus, but it's also the hardest to get. It is the one little, I don't know what this lawful or what this little legal, looks like a legal, I don't even know what this is, but it's chance. I think it's right. So the chance of getting this is the hardest one to get is the Taurus here, unfortunately, but it's the best pickup. And unfortunately, it moves down to this category in the next part of the spreadsheet. So in 4.22, you can no longer get it in this category. So don't assume you can spend this 16 favors and 15 ace helmets to get the Taurus the next go around. That's not going to stay in this category. It's going to move down. Additionally, be mindful that the ace helmets is really the hardest part for this. So I'm hoping that they've actually changed it a bit and allow you to get more ace helmets in the next coming patch. But that's something I'll have to test a bit more. And I don't have the rep anymore to do it, so I'm not going to be able to have time to really test that out. These other ships here are fine. I wouldn't mind having a CL and a Guardian as well, me personally. I would be a little upset, though, if I started to have a bunch of ESs. I just don't see the need of that from a particular ship. The other thing to be mindful of is the components. So the components aren't really working correctly in 4.11 from my understanding, but in 4.2 they do look to address that. But getting these ships is another good opportunity. So if you turned in for, even just here, if you turned in for these 10 favors, it allow you access to get quite a few components. Now, this doesn't hold very well because the components up here aren't very good. But down here, if you got even just the Guardian, all the military A components here for 16 favors and 15 helmets, that's a pretty good deal to get these components that you can put in other ships. Moving down, we do have two F8s, and we have a Max, and we have a Firebird. Now, the Firebird swaps places essentially with the Taurus here in 4.2, so those will kind of switch places. So you can only get the Taurus down here as well as these ships really don't change, again, minus the Taurus flops here with the Firebird. So let's just take a look at 4.2. And again, you can see the price cutting here. It's not quite half. This wasn't quite half either in favors, but it's nearly half. 4.2, at the very top here, you can see the fortune is now available. So this is going to be a common trend, or at least it appears to be a common trend, that the ships that are supposed to be coming out for sale in game, unfortunately, are coming out in Wikelo as RNG. So that's not ideal. I would personally like to see it both in sale for the game. Maybe something like the Super Hornet that's in the next category, I can see maybe keeping it locked behind Wikelo, but if you're still selling it to people, that seems kind of scummy to me to lock it behind RNG when you should really they've always said you can buy it in game. That seems a little rough to me. I think that's worse to me than Blades were. So I know I never talked about the Blade thing. I don't agree with them doing that. I didn't feel the need to have to pack on there because everyone else was already saying that. But this RNG process here is real rough. And again, especially since you can't even sell these back. But I'd like to see a lot of this RNG kind of dropped off quite a bit. This RNG does typically do very bad things. It has a bad connotation with it when it comes to video games. I know it's very terrible for WoW, and WoW is always seen as a very bad thing. Even if it costs you more favors, I'd rather have this cost 30 favors than directly pick one of these ships. That's just me personally. Don't let me lose out on getting 3 Intrepids and not get the Fortune here or something like that. Something weird. But again, you can see the percentage here, so the Fortune should be easy to get. I'm looking forward to turn in for this. I wouldn't even mind getting the Intrepid here, but as I started to get a second or third of Fortune, I would be upset about, if I'm looking to get the Intrepid. Now, the Nox, the Pulse, and the Medevac down here, absolutely terrible RNG. So if you want these, just luckily they're all for sale in the game, so just buy them in game. I know you might want the paint, but good lord, these percentages are terrible. They need to up the amount of turn in, again, if it needs to be 20, 30 favors, and just have a specific, like the ICT, the new Atlas ICT mech suit. It is no RNG associated with it. You strictly turn in for that particular mission. I'd like to see that with these particular ships as well. No reason to have such a low RNG chance of trying to get these. You're just going to have, maybe 10 fortunes on your account before you get one of these to pop up. That's terrible. Up next, we have the medium. So again, Ace Helmets is going to be the blocker here, at least from my process of playing the game. The 16 favors does require technically more time and energy, but these 15 helmets is a little hard to get, especially since currently, I think it still exists in 4.2 as well, but if you accidentally kill the pilot or you blow up the ship and you don't just soft death it, you lose access to actually loot the helmets. That's pretty bad. I'd rather if you kill the pilot, have the helmet go the inventory, just like you do with the favors. Might as well. Like, why are we doing this whole, you need to loot them? Anyways, I'm doing a lot of complaining here. Let's just refine this down a bit, right? The way there's so many bugs that currently exist that having to deal with RNG and the bugs, it's a stacking problem. Like it starts to be a bit of a stacking problem. Guardian here. So the Guardian QI, I'd like to get this. So a lot of this stuff looks good to me. I'm looking forward to get the QI. So I'm looking to turn in for this particular one quite a bit, to be completely honest with you. The Zeus CL, I wouldn't mind getting in as well. Guardian, the regular Guardian, that's fine. The Firebird, I'd love to get. I always like the Firebird. Unfortunately, I have 2. I have one that I pledged for, and then I've just bought one recently. So, there's nothing wrong with having more of them, but, it could stack up quite a bit, but the components are great here. I'd love to get all of these components, so that would be great as well. This second section, you see the Guardian here. Getting these components is almost as good as getting the ship itself, right? So you have the ability to, if I wanted to pull the components on some of these ships, I think the Guardian would probably be the better example, because the Firebird, I don't know if it's fully gold standard. I think some of the components you can get to, maybe even on the wings. I should know this as a Firebird owner, but I just don't. The Guardian has all of its components on the inside, so if you wanted to strip all of these and then pay the repair costs to get them back, you can then put these components in another ship. So obviously you can see these are the same exact components here, minus the shield drives. You just need an FR66 that you can use instead, but you can still swap these components out. Again, pay the repair costs, and you have access to those components. Interesting with the QI here, they put the competition stuff in here instead of military, but it is what it is. Stealth components down here still for the Scorpius, which is good. It does allow you to get the Scorpius in this section. Super Hornet Mark II, I'm looking for it. It'd be cool to get this. All of these are the higher percentages. These other ones down here that actually I'm happy that I wouldn't get as often are down here. So all of these ships I wouldn't mind getting, but I would hate to start to see some of these more than one time. So looking forward to, again, turn in on this particular section. It's looking good. This is really good components here. Again, I don't know if I don't think most of the Hornets are not gold standard, so I don't think you have easy access to a lot of these components. The Zeus ES, the Peregrine, and the C1, again, I wouldn't mind having one on my account, but if you start getting more than one of these, I would be disappointed. But the way these percentages are, you shouldn't be getting too many of these. Last but not least, we have the remaining category, and again, you have the F8s that are options to be picked up, as well as the Taurus down here and the Starlancer Max still. Unfortunately, the Taurus is still the hardest one to get. I mentioned this in a previous take, but I would like to see the F8s just offer one or the other of these, and then make it a third chance of getting all of these. I don't see, just make it 33.33% chance of getting these ones, and just have a second turn in you can do to get these other components or something. I don't see the point. Or pick one or the other. Pick a lane. Either do a stealth one or do a military one. I think the real one you buy comes with mostly military components. I mean, it's got a bit of a hodgepodge. I think it has a civilian drive. Just offer a stealth one, or just offer a full military one. Again, because the other one, the one you buy in game, comes with largely military stuff, might as well just make it come with the stealth components, and then let people buy the F8 military components on the side or something. Anyways, that's about all I got. Hopefully you like these rewards. Again, the biggest problem with these is RNG. Looking forward to them dropping that, to be completely honest. That's, again, the problem with this is that you can't even give these back if you don't want it, or hell, let you leave it on the pad. Like, if you don't want it, don't send it down or something. Like, give us some sort of mechanism to not turn it in. I get it, some people might not be able to send it, or like get disconnected and they'll be mad that they got a reward they can't get, but I would rather have a mechanism to allow me to not accept it than to be stuck with it. That's really what I'm getting at. Mixed with, again, doing RNG like this is never popular in games. People don't typically like that. I get it, when you're playing in games, loot is RNG, and so there's a percent chance of getting stuff, but you don't have to usually grind other things this much in order to get access to even get the RNG chance. Like, you're just doing a dungeon run and you're getting random loot. Sure, you can redo that dungeon multiple times, and so you are having to grind, but that grind itself is offering the opportunity to get this percent chance of getting the loot you need. That's a bit different than saying, hey, you're going to grind for all these stuff and then still have to do an RNG component to get the loot you want. That's terrible. That's so much extra grinding, because again, you're having to run the dungeons this many times to get these components before you even have the opportunity to get something. Come on, CG. Let's make an adjustment here. This is not popular. I like these ships. I want access to these ships, but let's agree on maybe doing something that's slightly different here. I don't even care if they up the cost. Again, if this could be 30 favors to get a fortune or something, I'd rather see that than to have to turn in 4 or 5 times to get a pulse or something like that. So anyways, that's all I got. A little complaining there at the end, but I know a lot of the people would like to see this change, and I definitely could give more feedback to if CIG wants to reach out to me. I have thoughts and feelings on it. Largely what happens in these games, like World of Warcraft, they had a percent chance of getting these legendary items, and little over little, each time you would do an activity, you would have a higher chance, if you hadn't got a legendary yet, to get a legendary. Unfortunately, though, it was complete RNG on which legendary you got, and some are in the meta and some weren't. It was terrible. The player base hated it. Towards the end, they basically said, okay, we're going to give you, basically like the favors, we'll give you something you can turn in for the legendaries, and you could pick the one you want. That was so much more better, and people loved that instantly, and it made people want to log in and do these grinds. When you have these favors, again, where people are doing the grinding, that's fine. People like doing that. But again, the RNG prospect of it it's when you get a third or fourth ship you don't want, it really kills the mood. It's such a Debbie Downer. Anyways, thank you all for checking out the video. I appreciate those taking time to like, subscribe, and I'll catch y'all next time. Peace.